think it's recording. It's 11:37, September 15th, 2021, and we're going to go over the spider of Willis, which is a representation of the cerebral cortex's internal blood system. And for starters, you need to understand there's a split up. There's two distinct sections. There is the posterior and the anterior. Anterior is sort of on top, posterior is below. And the spider of Willis is based off of just how you can structure it and understand how the blood flows, as well as how the arteries are all connected. So for starters, we'll look at the posterior. The posterior is pretty easy to draw. There is the vertebral arteries. There's two of them coming in from below, and those are sort of like the legs of the spider. I didn't really think it looked like a spider that most. It looks more like a stick figure. And these eventually form the basilar artery. They connect and they form this singular basilar artery. And that's all good, but we want to see what happens next. And in the whole circulatory system in the cerebral cortex, there is these three main cerebral arteries. And one of them is in the posterior, and two of them are in the anterior. And this is where the basilar artery combines and it is combined by vertebral arteries and splits off to form the two distinct posterior cerebral arteries. And it's these two. That's pretty poor drawing. It's like this, more like it. Nope. There. So those are those two cerebral arteries. But that's the posterior arteries in a nutshell. Now we want to look at the anterior. And these always start off with the carotid. There's two of them. So we do one here, one here. And that's fine, but we want to get these cerebral arteries. And this is where we sort of extend it into the two distinct ones. We have the middle cerebral artery, and there's two of them going out like this. And then we have the anterior cerebral arteries. And there's one going up like this, one going up like this. And that's fine. But now we want to look at that, I call it the circle of Willis. So this is discovered back in the 16th century, where the blood flow is in a circular fashion. So what completes the circus? And there's two communicating arteries is what they're known by. And aptly named, there's one for the posterior and one for the anterior. So this right here is the posterior communicating artery. There's two of them for this, and it connects the carotid to the posterior cerebral artery. And this sort of connects the bottom half of the circle. But now we have to complete the top half of the circle, and that is done via this right here. It doesn't extend that far, but just for the sake of having it be defined, this is the anterior communicating artery. And that is sort of where you get this circle of Willis set up. And if you want to visualize this, this is almost like if you have your brain like this, and if you look up, basically from your chin, you'll see, this is what you'll see from below. The vertebral arteries will sort of go up like this, connect, and then you'll branch off into the different arteries like the carotid, the middle, the cerebral, the anterior, etc., etc. But that's basically the circle of Willis.